The control panel of the Astra Veil lit up with a soft blue glow, illuminating Commander Honora Zivar's focused expression. Her slender fingers danced across the holographic interface, adjusting their course through the asteroid belt that marked the edge of the outer rim. This geological survey mission had been uneventful so far, just the way she preferred her assignments. "Readings look stable, Commander," said First Officer Resh Tivos from his station. The Caledonian's scaled skin reflected the ambient light as he reviewed the sensor data. "The mineral composition matches our projections. Should be a straightforward mapping job." "Excellent." Honora nodded, her silver-streaked dark hair bobbing slightly with the movement. "Dr. Sholvak, any biological anomalies we should be aware of?" The avian medical officer swiveled in her chair, her feathered crest rising slightly in amusement. "Nothing that would concern us, unless you've developed a sudden interest in extremophile bacteria that feed on nitrogen ice." She made a clicking sound that passed for laughter among her species. "Though I suppose they'd make for fascinating dinner conversation. Better than listening to Tivos describe weapon calibrations again." Resh flicked his forked tongue in mock offense, but kept his eyes on his console. Honora allowed herself a small smile. The Astra Veil wasn't a military vessel, though it carried standard defensive capabilities. Their mission for the Galactic Union was purely scientific, charting unexplored planets and collecting geological data from this distant sector. It was peaceful work, important for expanding the Union's knowledge base, even if it lacked the excitement of frontline assignments. The tranquility of the bridge was shattered by a sudden, alert tone. "Commander," called one of the communications officers, "we're picking up something unusual, a distress signal." Honora straightened in her chair. "Source? Difficult to pinpoint precisely. It's coming from the Silent Void sector, approximately 2 light hours from our position." The officer adjusted some settings. "The frequency is unusual. It's using an outdated emergency band." Dr. Sholvak moved to the communications station, her taloned fingers hovering over the console as she analyzed the incoming data. "This is interesting," she murmured, her head tilting in that characteristic bird-like manner. "The signal pattern matches human protocols. Not current standard, but definitely human." "Human?" Honora raised an eyebrow. "What would they be doing this far out? Earth only joined the Union 3 years ago. They barely have ships capable of reaching the mid-colonies, let alone the outer rim." Resh Tivos joined them, his expression concerned. "Commander, the signal originates from a region dangerously close to Orith-claimed space." A tense silence fell over the bridge. The Orith Empire, a militaristic civilization that had been expanding aggressively for decades, had recently declared vague sovereignty over several sectors in this quadrant. Though the Galactic Union didn't recognize these claims, confrontations with Orith patrols had become increasingly common and hostile. "Any Orith vessels on sensors?" Honora asked. "None detected," Resh replied, "but we're at extreme scanning range." Honora drummed her fingers on the armrest, weighing her options. Union rescue protocols were clear. No sentient being in distress was to be abandoned, regardless of species or political affiliation. Yet venturing so close to disputed territory carried significant risks. "Plot an intercept course," she finally ordered. "Standard approach, shields at minimum power, just enough to handle micrometeor impacts. We don't want to appear hostile if we encounter Orith ships." "Commander," Resh said, lowering his voice, "with all due respect, this could be a trap. Orith has been looking for excuses to demonstrate their territorial rights lately." "I'm aware of the risks, First Officer." Honora's voice was firm, "but the rescue imperative is binding. We don't leave sentients to die, regardless of political complications. Besides," she added with a slight smile, "we're a science vessel. If Orith wants to accuse the Union of aggression for sending geologists to answer a distress call, they'll only make themselves look foolish." Within hours, the Astra Veil approached the source of the signal, a small spacecraft drifting in the void, its hull marred by plasma burns and impact scars. The vessel was barely functional, with life support systems operating at minimal capacity. Human design, civilian class, confirmed the tactical officer. Short-range transport, not designed for extended deep space travel. I'm detecting one life form aboard, faint biosignals consistent with human physiology. They're fortunate we picked up their signal, Dr. Shulvak remarked. Another day, and those life support systems would have failed completely. Prepare a rescue team. On Nora. Ordered. Resh, you'll lead. Dr. Shulvak, standby and medical. The rescue operation proceeded swiftly. Within 30 minutes, Resh and his team had boarded the damaged vessel and located its sole occupant, an unconscious human male in the pilot's chair. They transported him directly to the Astra Vale's medical bay, where Dr. Shulvak immediately began assessment and treatment. Honora arrived in medical just as Shulvak was finishing her initial examination. The human lay on the diagnostic bed, various monitoring devices tracking his vital signs. He appeared to be in his mid-30s by human standards, with dark hair and a face that would have been handsome if not for the numerous cuts and bruises that marred it. Status? Honora asked. Multiple injuries, but nothing immediately life-threatening, Shulvak replied, her feathers rustling as she worked. Several laser burns hastily treated with emergency sealant. Internal bleeding that's been addressed with basic coagulants. Whoever patched him up knew what they were doing, but these aren't accidents or natural injuries. Combat wounds, Honora concluded. Precisely. Our friend here was in a fight before his ship started falling apart. Shulvak administered another treatment. He should regain consciousness soon. As if on cue, the human stirred. His eyes fluttered open, a startling blue against his bruised skin, and immediately widened with alarm. He attempted to sit up, but winced in pain. Easy there, Dr. Shulvak said, gently pressing him back down. You're safe now. I'm Dr. Shulvak of the Union Science vessel Astra Vale. The human blinked several times, his gaze darting from the avian doctor to Commander Honora. Did I die and go to heaven? He croaked, his voice rough from disuse. Because I'm seeing angels. Well, one looks like a giant parakeet, but beggars can't be choosers. Shulvak made that clicking laugh again. Your species' humor remains incomprehensible to me, but I'll take that as a sign your brain function is intact. I'm Commander Honora Zivar. Honora introduced herself, stepping closer. We picked up your distress signal. Can you tell us your name and what happened to your ship? The human managed a weak smile. Jonas Reed, he replied. And what happened is that my ship decided today was a good day to start dying. Kind of like me, except you folks intervened. He paused, then added more seriously. I don't suppose you brought any coffee aboard with you? Or maybe a cheeseburger? I've been living on emergency rations for days. I'm afraid our food synthesizers aren't programmed with many Earth recipes, Honora said. But we can provide nutritionally appropriate alternatives. Jonas sighed dramatically. No coffee, no burgers. The universe is a cruel place. His expression suddenly sharpened, becoming more alert. Wait, did you say Union vessel? You're with the Galactic Union. Yes, Honora confirmed. The Astra Vale is a Union geological survey ship. A look of relief washed over Jonas's face. Good, that's good. Then according to Union rescue protocols, you're now responsible for my safety and well-being until I can be transferred to appropriate authorities or returned to Earth jurisdiction, correct? Honora exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Shulvak. It was unusual for a human, particularly one who appeared to be a civilian pilot, to be so familiar with Union protocols. That is correct, she acknowledged cautiously, though I'm curious how a transport pilot is so well-versed in interstellar law. I read a lot. Jonas replied with a shrug that he immediately seemed to regret as pain flashed across his face. Listen, I don't mean to be rude after you just saved my life and all, but we might want to get moving. The folks who did this to my ship probably aren't far behind. And who might those folks be? Resh Tyvos asked, entering the medical bay. The Caledonian's natural intimidating presence seemed to give Jonas pause. Orith patrol ships, Jonas answered after a moment. They took exception to my presence in what they claimed was their territory. Seemed excessive considering I was just passing through. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Honora kept her expression neutral, but internally, alarm bells were ringing. An encounter with Orith forces complicated matters significantly. "We'll discuss this further once you've rested," she said, her tone making it clear this wasn't merely a suggestion. "Dr. Shulvak will continue treating your injuries. In the meantime, First Officer Tyvos will arrange quarters for you once you're cleared for medical." As they left the medical bay, Resh fell into step beside her. A human ship damaged in Orith territory, a pilot who knows Union protocols a little too well, and now we're potentially in the middle of an interspecies incident, he summarized. "Commander, something about this doesn't add up." "I agree," Honora said quietly. "Have a security team examine his vessel more thoroughly and run a background check on our guest through Union databases. I want to know exactly who we've brought aboard, and if Orith forces are indeed pursuing him." Honora's jaw tightened. "Then we'd better be prepared for visitors. Maintain yellow alert status and have defense systems on standby. Not active, but ready." As she made her way back to the bridge, Honora couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The Astra Veil had saved a human from certain death, fulfilling one of the Union's most sacred principles. Yet she couldn't help wondering what else they might have done in the process. Why would Orith forces attack a seemingly harmless human transport? And why was Jonas Reed so insistent on invoking Union protection protocols? One thing was certain: this rescue mission had just become far more complicated than a simple humanitarian response. Commander Honora Zivar wasted no time calling an emergency meeting in the Astra Veil's conference room. Present were First Officer Resh Tyvos, Dr. Shulvak, Chief Engineer Lomar, and Security Chief Valera, a stocky Terran woman who had transferred from Earth Space Force to the Union fleet just last year. "What have we learned about our guest and his vessel?" Honora asked, looking around the table. Resh activated the room's holographic display. "The ship is registered as the Lucky Break, a modified Corellian transport. Small cargo capacity, enhanced engines, essentially a courier vessel." However, he paused, manipulating the display to highlight specific areas. "We found 3 tracking devices attached to its hull. 2 are standard Orith military trackers, but the third is more sophisticated, custom work." "Someone really wanted to know where this ship was going," Security Chief Valera observed. "That's not all," Resh continued. "The weapon systems have been disabled, but the residual energy signatures suggest they were far more extensive than would be standard for a civilian transport. So our Mr. Reed is either exceptionally paranoid or had good reason to be heavily armed," Honora concluded. "What about his background?" Valera took over the briefing. "Jonas Reed, age 34, born in the North American zone on Earth. His official record shows him as a small-scale independent cargo hauler operating primarily between Earth's colonies. Nothing particularly noteworthy, some minor infractions for customs irregularities, but no serious offenses." "Too clean?" Honora asked. "Possibly. There are gaps in his movement history, periods where his ship's transponder doesn't appear in any port registry." Valera frowned. "It could be nothing or he's more than a simple cargo hauler," Honora finished. Dr. Shulvak, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. "There's also the matter of the encrypted data crystal I found among his personal effects. Most traders don't carry quantum-encrypted storage devices that resist even our medical scanners." A moment of silence fell over the room as they processed this information. "So we've rescued a mysterious human with a suspiciously well-armed ship, carrying encrypted data and being pursued by Orith forces," Honora summarized. "The question is, what do we do about it?" "Union protocols are clear," Resh stated. "We're obligated to provide safe passage to the nearest Union outpost. Unless he poses a threat to this vessel," Valera countered. "If he's smuggling something that puts us at risk." An urgent alert tone interrupted the discussion. The communications officer's voice came over the intercom. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from an Orith cruiser. They're demanding to speak with you immediately." Honora exchanged glances with her officers. "It seems our decision timeline just accelerated. Transfer the communication to this room." The holographic display flickered, and the image of an Orith commander appeared, humanoid with distinctively ridged gray skin and eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The insignia on his uniform marked him as a high-ranking officer. "This is Commander Vorix of the Imperial Orith Cruiser Relentless," he announced without preamble. "You have taken aboard a fugitive from Orith Justice. Surrender him immediately." Honora stood, her posture straight and dignified. "This is Commander Honora Zivar of the Union Science vessel Astra Vale. We responded to a distress signal from a damaged ship, as required by Union rescue protocols. The individual we recovered is under our protection." Vorix's expression darkened. "Your rescue interfered with an Orith military operation. The human Jonas Reed is a saboteur and thief who has stolen valuable Imperial property. Return him and what he carries, or we will consider your actions an act of war." "This is a scientific vessel in neutral space," Honora replied calmly. "We are not subject to Orith authority, and I remind you that attacking a Union ship constitutes a direct violation of the Galactic Accords. You shelter a criminal who attacked an Orith research facility," Vorix countered. "We demand his immediate surrender along with all property in his possession. You have 1 standard hour to comply, or we will take action." The transmission cut off abruptly. Silence reigned for several seconds before Valeris spoke. "Well, that complicates things, does it?" Honora asked, retaking her seat. "It seems to clarify our situation considerably. Our guest is indeed more than a simple trader, and whatever he's carrying is valuable enough for Orith to risk diplomatic incident over." The door to the conference room slid open, and Jonas Reed limped in, supported by a medical assistant. Despite Dr. Shulvach's treatments, he still looked worse for wear, but his blue eyes were alert and focused. "I heard we have company," he said. "Figured you might want to talk to me before making any decisions about handing me over." Honora gestured to an empty chair. "Mr. Reed, it seems you've neglected to mention some rather important details about your situation." Jonas eased himself into the seat with a wince. "In my defense, I was unconscious for most of our initial interaction." He attempted a charming smile that faltered under the collective stare of the Astra Vale's command staff. "All right, cards on the table. I'm not just a cargo hauler. I work for Earth Intelligence." "A spy," Resh said flatly. "Intelligence operative sounds more dignified," Jonas countered. "But essentially, yes. Earth Command sent me to recover something the Orith Empire stole from one of our research outposts, an energy conduit crystal." "Energy conduit crystal?" Chief Engineer Lomar spoke for the first time, his tentacled appendages rippling with interest. "You mean a multiphasic quantum resonator?" Jonas blinked. Possibly. We call an ECC. It's a crystalline matrix that can amplify and direct energy with unprecedented efficiency. Originally developed to enhance planetary defense shields. Such technology would be extraordinarily valuable, Lomar mused. With proper integration, a planet's defensive capabilities could be increased tenfold, which is precisely why Earth can't allow Orith to monopolize it, Jonas explained. Earth is still establishing its colonies. We're vulnerable. With this technology, we could protect our settlements without maintaining massive fleets we can't afford yet. "And Orith's interest?" Honora asked. Jonas's expression darkened. "They've been systematically acquiring advanced defensive and offensive technologies, buying them, stealing them, or taking them by force from smaller worlds. This crystal would give them the ability to create impenetrable shields around their military installations while they continue expanding their empire." "So you stole it back," Valera concluded. "Reclaimed it," Jonas corrected. "And yes, in the process, I may have caused some damage to their research facility." They took exception to that. Honora studied him intently. "And now you've involved my ship and crew in your operation without our knowledge or consent." "Not intentionally," Jonas protested. "My extraction plan went sideways when they detected my ship earlier than expected. The distress call was genuine. I was going to die out there if you hadn't picked me up. And now Orith is demanding we hand you over, along with this crystal," Honora said. "They've threatened military action if we refuse." Jonas leaned forward, his voice earnest. "Commander, you can't give me up to them. They won't just take the crystal and let me go. They'll extract everything I know about Earth's defense systems and intelligence operations. And they certainly won't show mercy after what I did to their facility. Before Honora could respond, the communications system chimed again. "Commander," came the urgent voice of the bridge officer. "We're detecting multiple Orith vessels moving to surround us. They're charging weapons systems." "So much for our 1-hour deadline," Resh muttered. "You should just let me go," Jonas said quietly. "Take me to an escape pod, and I'll lead them away. The Orith aren't joking around. They'll destroy this ship if you protect me." Honora's eyes flashed with determination. "We don't abandon those under our protection, Mr. Reed, regardless of how they came to be there. The Union does not bow to threats." She turned to her officers. "Prepare for emergency FTL jump. Resh, get to the bridge and coordinate defense systems. Lomar, I need maximum power to the engines." As her crew hurried to their stations, Honora fixed Jonas with a stern look. "You'll tell me everything about this crystal and why it's truly so valuable. But first, we need to get out of this trap." The tension on the bridge was palpable as the crew prepared for the emergency jump. Orith vessels had taken positions around them, creating a tightening perimeter. "They're hailing us again, Commander," reported the communications. "Officer, ignore it," Honora ordered. "Status of FTL drive. Ready for jump. Lomar confirmed from engineering. But I must warn you, an emergency jump without proper calculations could damage the drive components." Noted. Target coordinates. Resh studied the navigational display. "The Purple Star Corridor offers our best chance. The neutron star cluster will mask our signature and make pursuit difficult." "Orith vessels are locking weapons," called the tactical officer. "Execute jump now," Honora commanded. The stars outside the viewports elongated as the Astra Veil tore through the fabric of space-time. The ship shuddered violently, systems straining under the stress of the hastily executed maneuver. Warning alerts sounded throughout the bridge. When they emerged from FTL travel, the violent turbulence of the Purple Star Corridor immediately buffeted the ship. Swirling clouds of ionized gas illuminated by the harsh light of neutron stars created a beautiful but treacherous navigational hazard. "Damage report," Honora demanded, steadying herself against her command chair. "FTL drive severely compromised," Lomar reported. "Coolant systems damaged. We'll need significant repairs before another jump is possible." "How long?" 24 hours minimum, possibly 36 for full capability. Honora absorbed this news grimly. "Any sign of pursuit?" "Sensors are limited in this region, but no immediate indications of Orith vessels," Resh replied. "The radiation interference works both ways. They'll have difficulty tracking us, but we're also partially blind. Maintain yellow alert and set up a rotating sensor sweep pattern. I want to know the moment any ship enters sensor range." Honora turned to Jonas, who had been permitted to remain on the bridge during the crisis. "Mr. Reed, I believe it's time for that complete explanation you owe us." In her ready room adjacent to the bridge, Honora faced Jonas across her desk. Dr. Shulvak and Resh Tivos joined them, the doctor out of medical concern for their still-recovering guest, and Resh as a security precaution. "Start from the beginning," Honora instructed. "The unredacted version this time." Jonas sighed. "Earth intelligence has been tracking Orith technological acquisitions for the past year. When they hit one of our research outposts and took the energy conduit crystal prototype, I was assigned to recover it. A single operative for such a crucial mission?" Resh asked skeptically. "Small footprint, greater deniability," Jonas explained. "Earth is still establishing its position in the Union. We can't afford open confrontation with Orith, but we also can't let them keep technology that could threaten our colonies." "So you infiltrated an Orith facility," Honora prompted. "Their research station in the Eridani cluster," Jonas confirmed. "I posed as a maintenance contractor. Took 3 weeks to identify where they were keeping the crystal and devise an extraction plan, which clearly didn't go smoothly," Dr. Shulvak observed dryly. Jonas winced. "They had better internal security than intelligence suggested. I got the crystal, but triggered alarms in the process. Had to fight my way out, damaged their primary research lab in the escape. Barely made it to my ship before they locked down the station. And they pursued you, Honora concluded. Relentlessly. I managed to stay ahead using some creative navigation through an asteroid field, but they scored enough hits to damage my engines. I was trying to reach the Vega outpost when systems started failing. He met Honora's gaze directly. I truly didn't mean to drag your ship into this. The distress call was legitimate. I was out of options. Honora studied him for a long moment. Where is this crystal now? Jonas hesitated, then reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a small container. Opening it revealed a crystalline structure about the size of his thumb, pulsing with soft blue-green light. This is what all the fuss is about, he said. Doesn't look like much, but it's possibly the most advanced energy manipulation technology in the known galaxy. Dr. Shulvak leaned closer, fascinated. The internal structure appears to be shifting constantly. That's part of what makes it special, Jonas explained. It adapts to different energy types, amplifying and redirecting them with almost no loss. Initially designed for shield technology, but its applications are potentially unlimited. Honora opened her mouth to ask another question when the communication system activated. Commander, came Valera's urgent voice. We've received a priority message from Union Command. Orith has formally accused us of harboring a terrorist and stealing proprietary technology. They've declared a state of war with Earth, claiming Union complicity in theft and sabotage. A heavy silence fell over the room. It seems, Resh said quietly, that in saving one human, we may have inadvertently dragged the entire Union into conflict. Jonas paled. They're using this as a pretext. They've been looking for an excuse to move against Earth's colonies for months. Perhaps, Honora acknowledged, but your actions have given them the justification they needed. She rose from her chair, her expression grave. I need to consult with Union Command. Mr. Reed, you'll remain under guard. Not as a prisoner, but for your safety and ours. Dr. Shulvak, continue analyzing that crystal. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. As Jonas was escorted to secure quarters, Honora exchanged a meaningful look with Resh. Opinion, First Officer? We're in an impossible position, he replied bluntly. If we surrender Reed and the crystal, we betray Union principles and condemn him to torture and execution. If we don't, we risk becoming the catalyst for interstellar war. And the crew? Divided. Some believe we should hand him over to avoid further escalation. Others are adamant we uphold our duty to protect. Honora nodded slowly. Monitor the situation closely. I need to know immediately if Orith forces are detected anywhere in this sector. Over the next several hours, tension aboard the Astra Vale grew palpable. Engineer Lomar and his team worked feverishly to repair the FDL drive, while security teams maintained heightened vigilance. Dr. Shulvak, assisted by the science department, conducted a thorough analysis of the energy conduit crystal. Meanwhile, Honora maintained communications with Union Command, navigating the rapidly deteriorating diplomatic situation. The news was grim. Orith forces were mobilizing near Earth's outer colonies, and the Union Council was split on how to respond. When Dr. Shulvak requested an urgent meeting, Honora was almost relieved for the distraction. The avian doctor arrived in the ready room with a holographic projector, which she promptly activated. Commander, this crystal is far more remarkable than we initially understood, she began, manipulating the controls to display a three-dimensional model of the crystal structure. Its quantum resonance capabilities exceed anything in Union scientific records. Explain in terms a non-scientist can grasp, Honora requested. Simply put, this crystal doesn't just enhance shields, Shulvak elaborated. It could be configured to generate specific energy frequencies that could theoretically disrupt or disable weapon systems. In the right configuration, it could render an entire fleet's offensive capabilities temporarily inert. Honora's eyes widened. Are you saying it's a weapon? It's a tool with weapons applications, Shulvak clarified. More concerning is what we found embedded in its molecular structure, markers suggesting it could potentially interface with biological systems. Biological? You mean living organisms? Precisely. With sufficient research and development, this technology could theoretically be adapted to affect neurological function or manipulate cellular processes. Shulvok's feathers bristled with concern. In Orith hands, this could become a bioweapon capable of targeting specific species. The implications were staggering. This wasn't merely about planetary shields or military advantage. It was about the potential for genocidal weapons development. Does Reed know about these capabilities? Honora asked. I doubt it, Shulvok replied. These properties aren't apparent without advanced quantum analysis. Earth likely understood its energy manipulation applications, but not its biological potential. Before Honora could respond, the ship's alert system activated. Commander to the bridge, came Resh's urgent voice. Multiple Orith signatures detected at the edge of the corridor. When Honora arrived on the bridge, the tactical display showed 3 Orith vessels moving cautiously through the Purple Star Corridor's treacherous radiation fields. How'd they find us so quickly? She demanded. Unknown, Resh replied. But they're approaching with precision. They know exactly where we are. Valera, who had been running security diagnostics, looked up sharply. The tracking devices from Reed's ship, could one have been transferred to ours during the rescue? Scan the hull immediately, Honora ordered, and prepare defensive systems. The scan confirmed their fears. A sophisticated tracking device had been attached to the Astra Vale's outer hull, likely when they had docked with Jonas's vessel. Can we remove it? Honora asked. Not without an EVA team, Lomar replied from engineering. And with Orith vessels approaching, that would expose our people to enemy fire. Status of FDL drive? Repairs are progressing, but we're still at least 18 hours from jump capability. Jonas had been brought to the bridge under guard. This is my fault, he said, his voice tight with regret. I should have warned you about the possibility of trackers. Orith vessels are hailing us, reported the communications officer. Honora straightened her uniform. On screen, Commander Vorix appeared, his expression smug. Commander Zivar, you've led us on quite a chase, but it ends here. Surrender the human and the stolen property, or face destruction. Your threats constitute a violation of multiple Union protocols, Honora replied coolly. We are a civilian science vessel responding to a distress call. Any aggressive action against us will be considered an act of war against the Galactic Union. War has already been declared, Vorix countered. Earth's theft of our technology and your harboring of their agent has seen to that. You have 5 minutes to release the human and our property, or we will open fire. The transmission cut off. Options? Honora asked, looking around at her command staff. Our shield can withstand their initial barrage, Resh analyzed, but not sustained fire from 3 cruisers. We could try to lose them deeper in the radiation field, suggested the helmsman. Too risky with compromised engines, Lomar countered. We could suffer catastrophic system failures. Jonas stepped forward. There might be another way. The crystal, it's not just for shields. Dr. Shulvok, you said it can generate disruptive energy patterns, right? The avian doctor nodded cautiously. Theoretically, yes, but we've had no time to test. We don't need tests, Jonas interrupted. I saw the Orith research data. They were working on using it as a weapon disruptor. If we can jury-rig a transmitter to amplify its output, we might be able to temporarily disable their weapons systems. That's an enormous risk, Lomar objected. The energy requirements alone are within our capacity if we divert power from non-essential systems, Jonas countered. It's our only shot. Honora considered for a moment, then nodded decisively. Make it happen. Lomar, work with Dr. Shulvok and Mr. Reed. You have 4 minutes. What followed was a frantic rush as the engineering and science teams collaborated to create an improvised energy disruptor using the crystal. Systems throughout the ship powered down as energy was rerouted to the makeshift device. 3 Orith vessels moving into attack positions. Resh reported as the countdown approached 0. Device ready, Lomar announced, his tentacles working furiously over the jury-rigged apparatus. But we only have enough power for one burst. After that, we'll be vulnerable for at least 30 seconds while systems reset. Target their weapons arrays specifically, Honora ordered. On my mark. The view screen showed the Orth vessels moving into a triangulation pattern, their weapon ports glowing with building energy. They're powering weapons, confirmed the tactical officer. Now, Honora commanded. The crystal pulsed with brilliant blue-green light as its energy was channeled through the ship's communication array. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the glow from the Orth weapons flickered and died. It worked, exclaimed Lomar. Their weapons systems are experiencing cascade failures. Helm, evasive maneuvers, Honora ordered immediately. Get us deeper into the corridor while they're disabled. The Astra Veil lurched forward, diving into the swirling radiation clouds of the Purple Star corridor just as the ship's systems began their reset sequence. Behind them, the Orth vessels drifted in momentary confusion, their pursuit delayed but not abandoned. That bought us time, but they'll recover, Resh cautioned. And they'll be furious, Jonas added. That trick won't work twice. They'll adapt their shielding. Honora nodded grimly. Continue repairs to the FDL drive. We need to reach Union space as soon as possible. She turned to Jonas. Mr. Reed, I think it's time we discussed a more permanent solution to this crisis. In the relative safety of the radiation-filled corridor, Honora convened another emergency meeting. This time, they gathered in engineering, where Lomar could continue supervising the critical drive repairs while participating in the discussion. The crystal is the key to all of this, Honora began. Orth wants it because of its military applications. Earth wants it for defense. But what Dr. Shulvak has discovered suggests this technology is far more dangerous than either side realizes. If Orth fully develops its biological applications, Dr. Shulvak added, they could create weapons capable of targeting specific genetic structures. Imagine a weapon that could shut down neural pathways in humans while leaving Orth physiology untouched. A heavy silence fell over the group as they considered the implications. So Earth doesn't know the full potential of what they created? Valera asked. Jonas shook his head. Our scientists understood it was revolutionary energy technology, but the biological applications weren't in any of our research data. We developed it primarily for shield enhancement, which means Honora concluded that this crystal represents an entirely new class of potential weapons that could upset the balance of power throughout the galaxy. So what do we do? Resh asked. If we can't give it to Orth, and returning it to Earth might eventually lead to the same weaponization. Jonas had been uncharacteristically quiet, but now he spoke up. What if nobody gets to keep it exclusively? All eyes turned to him. Elaborate, Honora prompted. The reason Orth is willing to go to war over this crystal is because they believe they can monopolize the technology, Jonas explained. But what if the knowledge became public? What if the basic research was shared throughout the Union? Shared technology? Lomar's tentacles rippled with surprise. You mean distribute the research data to all member worlds? Exactly, Jonas nodded. If everyone has access to the same basic technology, no one gains a decisive military advantage. More importantly, with multiple scientific communities studying it openly, ethical restrictions could be established before someone develops the more dangerous applications. That's actually quite brilliant, Dr. Shulvak admitted. Open source technology as a peace strategy. Earth intelligence would never approve. Jonas acknowledged with a wry smile. They sent me to reclaim the crystal so we could maintain our own research advantage. But given the alternative is interstellar war, the Union Council might support this approach, Honora mused. It aligns with their principles of shared advancement and technological equity. There's just one problem, Resh pointed out. Orth will never agree to this. They'll try to prevent the distribution of this knowledge at all costs, which is why we need to transmit the data before they can stop us, Honora replied, her decision forming. Once the information is disseminated widely enough, they lose their motivation for war. The communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. Commander, We're receiving a transmission from Union Outpost Theta 5. They've dispatched vessels to our location after receiving our distress call. Hope flickered across the assembled faces. Ita? Honora asked. Approximately 12 hours, but the officer hesitated. Orith forces are regrouping. Sensors indicate they'll intercept us before Union reinforcements arrive. Then we have 12 hours to prepare our data package and find a way to transmit it, Honora declared. Dr. Shulvak, work with Jonas to compile everything we know about the crystal. Lomar, continue prioritizing FTL repairs, but I also need a communication solution that can penetrate this radiation field with a wideband data transmission. As the meeting dispersed, Honora pulled Jonas aside. This plan of yours is not what your superiors sent you to do. Jonas met her gaze steadily. No, it's not. But I've seen firsthand what's at stake now. Sometimes you have to choose between following orders and doing what's right. A dangerous philosophy for an intelligence operative, she observed. Maybe that's why I'm better at causing trouble than avoiding it. He replied with a hint of his earlier humor. For what it's worth, Commander, I truly am sorry for bringing this situation to your doorstep. Save your apologies for after we survive this, Honora said, but without rancor. Now help Dr. Shulvak prepare that data package. We have one chance to prevent this crisis from becoming a full-scale war. The next several hours aboard the Astravale were a flurry of coordinated activity. In the science lab, Dr. Shulvak and Jonas worked feverishly to document everything they knew about the energy conduit crystal, combining Earth's research data with the doctor's recent discoveries. Meanwhile, Lomar's engineering team split their efforts between repairing the FTL drive and modifying the communications array to penetrate the radiation interference. On the bridge, Resh coordinated with Tactical to develop evasion strategies that would buy them more time. The Purple Star Corridor's radiation provided some cover, but sensors indicated the Orith vessels were methodically searching the region, gradually closing the net. As the 10th hour approached, Honora received a direct transmission from Union Command. The view screen displayed a stern-faced woman with Commander's insignia representing Earth's military delegation to the Union. Commander Zivar, this is Admiral Helen Chu of Earth Command. She introduced herself. I understand you have one of our operatives aboard. That's correct, Admiral, Honora confirmed. Jonas Reed and the technology he recovered are both on the Astravale. The situation has escalated beyond what anyone anticipated, Admiral Chu stated grimly. Orith has formally declared war against Earth, citing technological theft and sabotage. They're mobilizing fleets near our outer colonies. Earth isn't prepared for full-scale military confrontation. With Orith, we may have a solution, Admiral, Honora replied, quickly outlining the plan to disseminate the crystal's technical specifications throughout the Union. There was a long pause before Admiral Chu responded. You're proposing to release classified Earth technology to the entire galactic community? I'm proposing to prevent a war by removing the incentive for it, Honora countered. Our analysis indicates this technology has applications far beyond what Earth or Orith initially understood. If developed in secret by either side, it could lead to weapons of unprecedented destructive capability. Admiral Chu's expression remained neutral, but her eyes betrayed concern. Put Reed on. Jonas was summoned to the bridge. When he saw Admiral Chu on the screen, he straightened instinctively, years of military discipline evident in his posture. Agent Reed, Chu addressed him directly. You are tasked with recovering stolen Earth property, not distributing it to the galaxy. With respect, Admiral, Jonas replied, the mission parameters changed when we discovered the crystal's full capabilities. This technology in exclusive hands, any hands, represents a threat to galactic stability. That's not your call to make, Agent. No, ma'am, it's not, Jonas agreed. But I'm the one who triggered this crisis, and I believe this is the only way to resolve it without massive casualties. Another long pause followed as Admiral Chu appeared to consult with someone off-screen. Finally, she returned her attention to them. The Union Council is convening an emergency session to address the Orith declaration of war. I'll present your proposal, but I make no promises. In the meantime, your priority is to reach Union space with that crystal intact. Whatever happens, we cannot allow Orith to reclaim it. Understood, Admiral, Honora acknowledged. And Reed, Admiral Chu added, her expression softening slightly. Next time, try not to start an interstellar incident. No promises, ma'am. Jonas replied with a hint of his characteristic humor. After the communication ended, Honora turned to Jonas. Your superior seemed less opposed to the idea than I expected. Earth leadership isn't monolithic, Jonas explained. Some factions would prefer technological advantage at any cost. Others recognize that peace serves Earth's interests better than any weapon could. He smiled wryly. Besides, I suspect Admiral Chu is already calculating how shared access to this technology actually benefits Earth in the long run. We're newcomers to the galactic stage. This could help establish Earth as a serious contributor to Union science. A pragmatic viewpoint, Honora observed. Politics usually is, Jonas shrugged. The trick is finding the path where pragmatism and ethics overlap. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from Tactical. Commander, Orith vessels have changed formation. They're no longer searching. They're converging directly on our position. They found us, Resh confirmed, studying the sensor display. 3 cruisers approaching from different vectors. Intercept in approximately 40 minutes. Status of FDL drive? Honora demanded. Still 2 hours from operational capacity, Lomar reported from engineering. We've made progress, but the radiation is complicating repairs. And the Union reinforcements? At least 3 hours out, Resh replied grimly. We're on our own. Honora considered their options. Fighting was futile. The Astravale was outgunned even against a single Orith cruiser, let alone 3. They couldn't run. Hiding in a radiation field had failed. What about the data package? She asked. Is it ready for transmission? Complete and encrypted with Union diplomatic protocols, Dr. Schulvach confirmed. But our modified communications array still can't penetrate the radiation field with sufficient power to reach Union relays. Jonas, who had been silently contemplating the tactical display, suddenly straightened. Wait a minute. What if we don't try to transmit through the radiation? Explain, Honora prompted. The Orith know exactly where we are, Jonas pointed out, which means they must have a communication method that works within this corridor. If we could hijack their relay system. Lomar's tentacles twitched with excitement. We could piggyback our transmission on their communication frequency. Their systems are already calibrated to penetrate this interference. Can you reconfigure our transmitter to match their frequency? Honora asked. With the right access codes? Yes, Lomar confirmed. All eyes turned to Jonas. What? He asked, then realization dawned. Oh, right. During my infiltration of their research station, I may have borrowed some of their communication protocols. Of course you did, Resh muttered, but there was a hint of admiration in his tone. This could work, Honora decided, but timing will be critical. We'll need to wait until. They're close enough for a strong signal lock, but before they're in weapons range. And we'll only get one chance, Lomar cautioned. The moment we begin transmission, they'll detect the intrusion and change their encryption. Honora nodded. Prepare the transmission. All non-essential power to communications and shields. We need to hold them off just long enough to complete the data upload. As the Astravale braced for confrontation, Honora found herself standing beside Jonas at the tactical display, watching the approaching Orth signatures. You know, Jonas remarked quietly, when I woke up in your medical bay, I never imagined we'd end up changing the course of galactic politics. Is that what we're doing? Honora asked. Best case scenario? We're preventing a war and democratizing a technology that could otherwise become the galaxy's most dangerous weapon. He paused. Worst case, we die trying. An admirably succinct assessment, Honora replied with the ghost of a smile. Though I prefer the former outcome. As do I, Commander. Jonas's expression grew serious. Whatever happens, thank you for not giving up on me when it would have been the easier choice. Honora was saved from responding by Resh's announcement. Orith vessels entering optimal transmission range in 3 minutes. Battle stations. Honora ordered, moving to her command chair. Prepare to execute transmission on my mark. The atmosphere on the bridge was tense, but focused as final preparations were made. Dr. Shulvak and Lomar coordinated from engineering, where they had integrated the crystal itself into the transmission array to boost its power. Resh oversaw tactical, ready to direct the ship's limited defensive capabilities once the Orith detected their intrusion. Orith vessels in optimal range, reported the sensor officer. They're preparing to issue demands. Ignore any communication attempts, Honora instructed. All power to the transmission. Ready on your mark, Commander. Lomar confirmed from engineering. Honora took a deep breath. This was the moment that would determine not just their fate, but potentially the course of interstellar relations for years to come. Execute transmission, she commanded. The crystal pulsed with brilliant energy as the data package began uploading to the Orith communication relay. From there, it would be automatically distributed to multiple Union frequencies and diplomatic channels throughout the sector. Transmission at 30%, Lomar reported. Orith vessels are detecting the intrusion. They're attempting to block the signal. Maintain course, Honora ordered. Divert emergency power if necessary. 50% complete. Orith cruisers are moving to attack positions. 65%. They've locked weapons. The bridge rocked as the first Orith salvo struck their shields. Shield integrity at 70%, Resh reported calmly. Continuing evasive maneuvers. Transmission at 80%. Lomar called over the sounds of systems straining. The crystal's energy signature is fluctuating. We're losing power to the array. Jonas rushed to the engineering station. The crystal's overheating from the power draw. We need to stabilize it or we'll lose the transmission. Ow, demanded Dr. Shulvak. Manual recalibration, Jonas replied grimly. Someone needs to adjust the crystal's alignment directly. That level of radiation exposure would be dangerous, the doctor protested. I'll do it, Jonas said without hesitation. Before anyone could object, he was already heading for the engineering section. Another blast rocked the ship. Shields at 40%, Resh updated. We can't take much more of this. In engineering, Jonas reached the makeshift transmission array where the crystal pulsed erratically, its blue-green glow now tinged with angry red flares. Protected only by basic radiation shielding, he began carefully adjusting its position within the emitter. Transmission at 90%, Lomar reported. Crystal stabilizing. Multiple Union signatures detected at the edge of the corridor, exclaimed the sensor officer. Union vessels approaching at maximum speed. A cheer went up on the bridge, quickly silenced by another hit from Orith weapons. Shields failing, Resh warned. One more direct hit and transmission complete. Lomar announced triumphantly. Data package successfully delivered to Union Relay Network. The timing couldn't have been better. As the Astra Veil's shields collapsed, the first Union vessels appeared. A squadron of fast attack cruisers moving to intercept the Orith forces. Caught between their prey and unexpected reinforcements, the Orith vessels broke off their attack. They're retreating, Resh confirmed, watching the tactical display as the Orith cruisers reversed course and fled deeper into the corridor. Honora allowed herself a moment of relief before asking, Status of Jonas Reed? Medical. Team is treating him for radiation exposure, Dr. Shulvak reported. His condition is stable, but he'll need more comprehensive treatment at Union Medical Facility. Set course to rendezvous with Union forces, Honora ordered. And someone tell engineering they've earned their shore leave after this is over. 3 days later, the Astra Veil docked at Union Outpost Theta 5, one of the largest Union installations in the sector. The ship still bore battle scars from the Orith attack, but Lomar's team had restored essential systems to operational status. In the outpost's main conference center, Honora found herself before a panel of Union officials and diplomatic representatives, including Admiral Chu from Earth Command. The debriefing had been exhaustive, covering every detail of their encounter with Orith forces and the decision to release the crystal's technical specifications. "The Union Council has reviewed your actions, Commander Zivar," announced the Centaurian chairperson. "While unconventional, your decision to disseminate the crystal technology has been deemed the correct course of action under the circumstances. Orith has formally withdrawn their declaration of war against Earth," added another counselor. "Without the exclusive advantage they sought, they've been forced to the diplomatic table instead." Admiral Chu spoke next. "Earth Command concurs with the Council's assessment. While we would have preferred to retain exclusive development rights to the technology, the broader peace this resolution has achieved serves Earth's interests as well." Honora nodded acknowledgement of their statements. "And the crystal itself will be transferred to a secure Union research facility," the chairperson replied. "There, scientists from all member worlds can study it under ethical oversight. Its defensive applications will be developed for the benefit of all, while potential weapons applications will be strictly regulated." After the formal debriefing concluded, Honora made her way to the outpost's medical facility. She found Jonas sitting up in bed, looking markedly improved from the last time she'd seen him. The radiation exposure had left him weakened, but Union medical technology had prevented any lasting damage. "Commander Zivar," he greeted her with his characteristic grin. "Come and check if I've caused any interstellar incidents while confined to bed rest." "I thought it prudent to verify," she replied dryly, but there was warmth in her eyes. "You seem to be recovering well." "Union doctors work miracles," Jonas acknowledged. "I'll be back on my feet in no time, though Earth intelligence might have other ideas about my future assignments." "I spoke with Admiral Chu," Honora said. "She mentioned something about you being too independently minded for covert operations." Jonas laughed. "That's military speak for insubordinate but useful. Don't worry, they won't court-martial me. I technically completed my mission, just with some creative interpretation of parameters." "Very creative," Honora agreed, "but effective." A comfortable silence fell between them as they contemplated all that had transpired. "The crystal technology is already being adapted for civilian applications," Honora informed him. "Lomar tells me the energy efficiency improvements alone could revolutionize colonization efforts on marginal worlds." "So we didn't just prevent a war," Jonas mused. "We might have inadvertently kick-started a new era of expansion and development." "It would seem so." Honora moved to the window, where they could see ships coming and going from the busy outpost. Among them was an Orith diplomatic vessel, not a warship, but a sign of their reluctant engagement with the new reality. "I received new orders this morning," Honora said after a moment. "Once the Astra Veil completes repairs, we're to resume our geological survey mission. Apparently, the Union Council feels we've had sufficient excitement and could use some routine work." "Can't say I blame them," Jonas remarked. "You did turn interstellar politics upside down by answering a distress call." Honora turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. "I still don't know if I regret saving you or not." Jonas smiled, genuine rather than his usual sardonic grin. "First, we just changed the galaxy for the better. Second, humans are full of surprises. Just wait and see what we do next." In the distance, an Orith vessel hovered, maintaining its distance but making its presence known, a reminder that while open conflict had been averted, tensions remained. The new equilibrium was fragile, requiring constant maintenance and diplomacy. But for now, at least, a single act of rescue had transformed a potential war into an opportunity for growth and cooperation. By saving one human, Commander Honor Zivar and the crew of the Astra Veil had indeed changed the course of galactic history, proving once again that sometimes the smallest decisions create the largest ripples across the stars.